Hey everybody, it's Bruce here from WaterBear, and on our social media channels, as you know, we're all about helping you with your journey as a professional musician, whether you're a singer-songwriter, solo artist or in a band. So today we're talking about something that crops up a lot. People keep asking, how do I get session gigs? I want to be a session player. I want to be a session singer. How does that work? So we're going to explore that. And like all these things, it's pretty easy to figure out how it works and to make a sensible and realistic plan. And if that's what you want to do, there's no reason why you can't achieve it, and this is how you do it. So the first thing is you've got to understand what the role of a session musician is, or a session singer. And it's largely very much a supporting role. It can be in the studio, it can be touring on stage, or it can be a mixture of the two. But your role is usually to make other people sound good and bring a little bit of your own vibe as well. And to put this in context, there's very few people these days that are full-time session players. For most of us, it's just a little part of what we do. It's another income stream. And also, quite useful, it can be an advert for other things that we do as well, because, you know, if we're touring, it's a big profile stuff, it's really good for your social media, and also this stuff can be really good fun. Right, so let's talk about rates of pay. So this is interesting, because in the golden period, when people are knocking out CDs at 20 quid a go, and, you know, record companies are making them for 25p and making a lot of money, the whole industry was kind of awash with a lot more dough, and that was reflected in the money that session players earn. So I remember some of my friends doing gigs, earning 2 or 3 grand a week back in, you know, sort of 1990 sort of time, and that was a lot of money. Soon clocked up over the year, but you know, it's not quite like that anymore. So a session gig can really range from nothing, doing it to a favour, to a couple of £100 a day, which is fairly typical, to anything you like at the highest level. There still are those top level gigs out there, it's just that there's not as many of them as there used to be. And despite the fact there isn't maybe as much money on the session scene as there used to, there's still a couple of really good reasons to be doing these gigs. One is it's great for profile, it's great for your social media, it gets people in the scene knowing about you, it's good for every other aspect of your business as a professional musician. And secondly, we are musicians after all, so we love playing. Whether it's the studio or live, that's what we want to be doing. And at the highest level, you know, that's great, because the bigger the gig, the more fun it is. So how do you get this work? And it's really interesting because, you know, I know I've talked about the role, and this is a supporting role. So largely you don't get gigs like this by showing off, because you're usually supporting another artist. But it's by networking. The best possible advert for you to get other work is your own band project. And for most of the session players that I know, they started by being in a really cool band and getting on the scene. So a good friend of mine that does a lot of session work at the moment is Tommy Gleeson. Now, I've watched Tommy, he's a very impressive character. He ran his own band, Slaves to Gravity, he was a singer, he's a great writer. And since he's now a family man, so he doesn't tour so much, but when he does, he tends to dep for bands like Skindred, and he's in Feeder at the moment. And he also spends his time songwriting and co-writing. So he's taken an artist career and developed it, and that's a very common story. I could give you 6 examples like that. So if you're interested in session work, don't think it's a separate thing to original music. It's not. Go out there, do cool stuff, that's the biggest advert. The other thing you can do is have a great presence on social media, and now I'm going to say something a little bit controversial, often is for musicians, but what you look like really makes a difference to the gigs you're going to get. Now, it's all very well sitting at home going, it should all be about the music. Well, maybe it should, but I'm here to tell you it isn't always, because if you're going to hire someone who's going to be on the stage with you, you want them to look like a rock star. Remember what Lemmy said, if you're applying for the job of rock star, then don't, you know, turn up looking like the bloke next door. However, when it's a session gig, you want to be a little bit more on the understated side. I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's a kind of session uniform which is largely black. You can't go too far wrong with skinny black jeans, black shirt, black t-shirt, and a really good leather jacket. And it's about attention to detail, just like your music. If you're going to have a pair of jeans, have a great pair of jeans. If you're going to have a leather jacket, buy some cool vintage thing that just looks immense, wear it slightly under skinny fit or whatever it takes, you know. So the session uniform is usually very cool, but quite understated. Can't go too far wrong with that. A good haircut can really help as well. So for session players, it's quite a specific skill set, and the number one skill is to play simple things really, really well. So all that practice you're doing in the studio with the click track, listening, getting a great feel, sitting with the hi-hats if you're a guitar player, making the singer sound good, making the arrangement work, that's the skill of the session player. Learning stuff fast and being reliable and being able to perform with minimal or no rehearsal is also a useful skill, and there's no way around that by putting yourself under difficult conditions and doing gigs that are uncomfortable and getting as many gigs under your belt as possible. Being versatile is good, so if you can sing backing vocals, fantastic. If you can play a bit of keyboards, fantastic. The more stuff you can do, from banjo to penny whistle, the more gigs you're going to get. And the last thing, I think it's about being cool around other people. Your role is to solve problems rather than cause problems. So when you get to the gig, it's definitely not all about you. It's not about us. If we've got a problem with our guitar rig or our monitors, we deal with it quietly and we don't let that bother the rest of the band. There's no room for thievery kind of stuff here, because at the end of the day, it's not your gig. So here's a checklist for you. Concentrate on your own original music and covers gigs as well. Just get out there, get playing, look great, network like hell, even to the point of teching for other bands, get out on the scene, and then choose your moment. It's all about timing. So just have your ear to the ground, so when you know that a band is looking for another member, you can whip in there quick, and somebody's got to get this gig, it might as well be you. So good luck with all that. As always, if you want any advice about your career, whether it's session work or getting a record deal or whatever it is, you can contact us through the info email address via the WaterBear website. If you like what we do, like and subscribe, and we'll keep in contact, and let's make some music. I should probably play a bit of guitar at that point, but I don't know what I'm going to play. Play that.